This is the Overdose.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Thursday edition of the Overdose, June 4th, 2015. Thank you very much for being with us. Andrea is here.
Hello.
David Box is here.
What up?
And we're going to get right down to business. We already have our guest on the line, but I want to just run through a quick intro for anybody who hasn't been following along with what we're doing here. This was back in 2009 out in Salt Lake City. Joey Tucker was killed by a Salt Lake City police officer, was Louis Law Jones. Oh, just a very likable character in this whole thing. And it's not like a murky, weird thing. It's a very clear cut, as you'll come to find, I think, once we get into all the details. It's very clear cut that this was a cold-blooded act by a person who was acting deliberately, and speaking of Louis Law Jones, acted deliberately, was not under any immediate threat to his safety, nor were the other officers.
No.
This whole thing,
that's incredibly clear in the video.
Right. So this is, you guys are, once you get familiar with this, you're going to come to find all that. That's why this case stuck out to me, and I reached out to the family via their Facebook page, Justice for Joey Tucker. Go find that on Facebook, give it a like, and show them just a tiny bit of support. I reached out to them, got a response back from Joey's sister, Melinda, who is on the line now, so we might as well just bring her on and get into the whole thing, huh?
Yeah, let's do it.
Melissa, are you there? I mean, Melinda. I'm
Right,
sorry.
Get it together.
Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Hey, sorry. So thanks for being on, and I appreciate you being willing to kind of go over all this stuff, which I'm sure can't be easy. But we've got to get this story out because, as I was saying earlier when we were talking, the only way these things tend to get handled properly by the legal system is when there's a giant outcry from the public. That's pretty much our only option.
Yeah, it's the only hope.
Although there's a new DA in town and all of that. So we'll get into all that. But first of all, I just wanted to ask, it's been a few years and everything. Does the reality ever settle in and you kind of just start grinding away at your fight right now? Or is this all still kind of surreal for you?
It's still really surreal. It feels like we're just living a nightmare. We kind of, I expect to see him, at family events or any minute to walk through the door, or we'll go to say something like, oh, I got to show Joey. Oh, wait a minute. I can't tell him. Or, my daughter graduated from high school. We got to tell Grandma and Grandpa and Joe. Oh, we can't. So it never sinks in. It doesn't seem like it happened. It feels like it happened to somebody else. Mm-hmm. It hasn't said in at all that it's happened to us. I don't know that it ever will completely feel like it happened to us. It's too big. It's too huge. It's too emotional it feels like something you would watch on a TV show, on some cop drama show or something. It doesn't feel like it would happen in real life, but it has. As it happened that day, I was actually watching it unfold on the internet as they were announcing officer-involved shootings, breaking news. I was watching it happen online.
Oh my God.
Which is, that's about as horrific of a feeling as you can imagine. And so as you guys are going along, trying to cope with this, and there was a lawsuit settlement at one point, and there's been a lot of steps in this. As you've gone along and tried to heal, recently there's been a big thorn in your side again from the officer. I don't know what I was going for. A big wrench in the gears, I guess, in your healing process, was that the cop that shot Joey actually showed up on your Facebook page commenting and trying to justify what he did. That must have been completely unbelievable to you guys.
Yeah, it was. I saw this Facebook notification come on my phone that Law Jones posted on his wall, on Joey Tucker's, Justice for Joey Tucker's wall.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? Did I see that right? What's going on? And sure enough, went and saw it, and he had posted a couple different places, and really could not believe what I was reading as I was reading it, that he was even on there. I could not believe that he was even talking to us, that he even contacted us. I mean, maybe he had wanted to many times. I mean, there's a few things I've wanted to say to him many times, but never had I actually reached out to him and said them.
I read, you sent us screenshots of every comment that he made. We read through them all. The guy is absolutely detached, as many police officers unfortunately are. He's completely detached from reality. He attempts to justify what he did through pretty much unrelated things. He was debating about, well, hey, the original 911 call wasn't for a medical assistance. It was blah. It doesn't matter,
Yeah.
When you've seen the dash cam footage and the 5 seconds specifically after they pit maneuver the pickup truck that Joey's driving, and it's headed backwards away from the police, and they chase it after it, and he runs up alongside the vehicle and fires into it.
Runs alongside.
That's the part that matters. None of this other stuff that people are debating matters whatsoever. But this guy shows up and goes so far as to say, you guys settled your lawsuit for $100,000, so that's all his life was worth. It basically implying, hey, you guys don't even really care that much,
Yeah.
Right.
And first of all, I'm thinking he had to be drunk to even go this far.
Yeah.
As we said earlier, but I think it just blew everybody away. That's what made this case stand out, because it just really
so heartless, such a hurtful thing to do with no end result. I mean, why would a person go out of their way? It seems so cold. It's like the coldest thing I've ever seen. Unbelievable.
I can't imagine any person in their right frame of mind would do what he has done. I mean, I keep referring to, it reminds me of, a serial killer or a killer who has killed somebody, who then goes back and gets gratification or gets off by harassing or taunting the family of the victim they just killed. You see things all the time where they're doing stuff to now the family or some, it reminds me of that.
Yeah, it's very...
Now, he hasn't had enough, so now he's coming almost 6 years later, and now he's taunting and harassing us. It's not enough that he killed Joey, but now he needs to just rub it in and call us liars, and at one point he told us to STFU, so it's not enough that he, took him away from us, but now he's just making it worse by bringing it all up again and rubbing it in our faces and calling us, liars. And that. So yeah, I mean, it's. Well, I don't know who in their right mind would do something like this to somebody, whether he believes he's right or he's wrong. I don't know who would do this.
And that's the thing, is even if what he was saying was true, he never even made any attempt, which he couldn't possibly make any attempt to justify the actual, moments where the crime took place, where he actually shot. He didn't say anything like, well, he looked like he was reaching for a weapon, or any of these classic excuses. It's all this kind of, trying to make the situation murky with all this kind of shit that doesn't matter whatsoever,
Yeah. It kind of seemed like he just couldn't wait to fire his weapon. Like he's in the video, he seems like one of those trigger-happy police officers, and with the commenting on Facebook, it's all eerily reminiscent of psychopathic behavior. You're right, like a serial killer.
Well, on the video, you can hear one of the other officers say, "Oh no," swearing, and "What did you do?" Like, obviously, the other officer who was there, who was allegedly one of the ones in danger, I believe, quote unquote, in danger.
They weren't in danger.
Was the one who reacted on camera saying, "Why would you do something like that?" That was an overreaction. So
just kind of get back to the where we're at with everything. One of the things I noticed, in a lot of the media coverage, like right off the bat, they went with the police story that said, and this is in a bunch of articles and news from the time, he drove and aimed his vehicle at officers attempting to run them over, and they printed that as though it was fact.
Mm-hmm. I noticed that too.
It's just unbelievable the way this stuff gets swept under the rug unless you have an absolutely huge fucking, a huge will to fight it.
So wait, what actually happened was he was undergoing something, and that's why he was driving all weird and that's why they were pursuing him in the first place. He was having diabetic issues.
Yeah, I'll try to shorten the story a little bit, but he was diabetic, and I don't know if you know many diabetics, but whether it's good stress or bad stress or excitement or whatever, it can cause their sugars to go up or down, and not let them be very stable. And he was going through some stuff. His girlfriend at the time had given him some custody papers for his little girl, and he didn't want to be a weekend dad. And so when he got those papers, it really upset him, and he really wanted to talk to her about those papers. And, it was more just so it kind of protected. She was kind of doing it to protect both of them. You're the dad, and this is your visitation and stuff, because they weren't married or anything, but wanted to give him something. She wasn't trying to, stress him out or hurt him in any way, but just wanted something so that they both had something in writing. And but it upset Joey, and wanted to talk to her about it, and wanted to see Devery all the time, and didn't want just every other weekend, because he had been with her all the time since she was born, and didn't want to just see her when the paper said. And so he really wanted to talk to Bree, and he was really upset about it. The night before, he had kind of talked to me, and will you please talk to her, and can you talk to Bree, and I don't want to be this weekend dad. And the next morning, my mom had left for work and said, well, he seems okay. He's in bed. He seems okay. Well, about 9:30 that morning, it was a Thursday, 9:30, I get a phone call from him, and I can't hardly understand anything he's saying. It sounds like he sounded like a person who had had a stroke, is kind of how I can best relate the two. He was really mumbled and jarbled, and he had said that he had hit a couple cars, and I said, you better turn around right now and go home. You need to go home. You're not well. You need to go home. We'll deal with this later. And he just kept talking, and I didn't understand what he was saying, and he said, I love her. And that's the last time I talked to him. Sorry.
Oh, it's okay. Take a moment, of course, if you need. And so I've talked to people while they're in diabetic shock before, and it's such a weird thing. It's almost like someone who's on some kind of really powerful sedative or prescription drug or something. Almost, it's very weird. And they don't make any sense, but they can walk around and do things. It's a very, it's a really kind of dangerous, strange thing.
Yeah, I don't know that he really knew what all was going on that day. And as soon as I had talked to him and he hung up, I called my mom and dad immediately and said, Joey's in trouble. He's got to go to the hospital. This is what he sounded like. He needs to go. So my mom and dad left work, and I said he was headed to Bree's work, and so they left to go head to her work so that we could try to get him to the hospital. In the meantime, they had called, 911. We need some paramedics to help get him to the hospital. He needs, his insulin, fixed. His sugar, something's wrong. We need to get him to the hospital.
Yeah.
The Christmas just before this, he was actually in the hospital for ketoacidosis and pancreatitis with his diabetes, and so he'd always kind of struggled with his diabetes anyway, and so they knew they had to get there, and she was calling 911, and my dad was calling 911, and everybody was trying to get all these people to kind of help him, and he kind of had this mission that he was trying to do, but he really didn't. I really don't think he knew exactly what was going on in the whole picture,
right.
And what everybody was trying to help him, and they were there just for him. And
at one point, everybody he's at was it his wife or his girlfriend, right?
His girlfriend.
So he's at his girlfriend's place where she works or wherever that is, and the police and paramedics were there, and he didn't want to go with the paramedics, and he hadn't really done anything illegal, right? So they let him go again.
Yeah.
And now this is when he gets onto the highway, I think.
Yeah, and they said, we're just going to kind of follow and make sure he doesn't hit anybody else, because he had that a fender bender and he had scraped a car, and so they were just going to follow him, make sure that he was safe and everybody was safe. They were just going to make sure everything was okay. And then he'd kind of circle around and come back, and then he'd get on a highway, and a couple of the original Salt Lake City officers said, we can't follow him on a highway. It's not our jurisdiction. The Highway Patrol has to do that. And so Highway Patrol would join in and kind of follow him. The officer that actually killed him was off duty and somehow ended up joining in this pursuit at one point or another. He was not at the original scene, at Bree's work.
Okay.
So I don't know if he didn't, bother to find out what was going on or didn't care to listen to what the whole story was or the background of things. When he comments on the Facebook, he says, I tried to plead with him and talk to him. Well, he wasn't there at the original, when it all started. And it wasn't his jurisdiction. It was Highway Patrol, and they had it under control. They were following him. They did the pit maneuver. It was their
So basically,
jurisdiction. He never should have.
The police all understood the situation. You made it clear. You made it clear to them that he's he's got a medical condition that's causing him to act this way. And I read in the lawsuit that that he was actually going significantly under the speed limit, and the Highway Patrol was just watching him.
Yeah, it was a slow speed chase, and we made him aware several times that it was a diabetic thing. He may or may not have taken a sleeping pill. We didn't know because he had mentioned that, or somebody had mentioned that at one point. So we just let him know he may have taken this. He may just kind of fall asleep. So I think they were kind of waiting to see if he'd just fall asleep, and just kind of just drift off the road is kind of what I think they were hoping for. And then they would just take him to the hospital. The original officers that were there, they asked, did he have weapons? And they were told on numerous times, no, he's diabetic. He needs to go to the hospital. He has no weapons. He has no access to weapons. We just need to get him to the hospital. They were told on several occasions that was what was going on.
And at some point, and I couldn't really figure out why they made the decision to pull the pit maneuver and try to take him off the road. So I guess they tried that a couple times, and the second or third time it worked, and that spun him out, and that is when Law Jones, as he was known on Facebook, jumped out and fired for really no reason at all. There's nothing. I mean, this is what stuck out about this case to me.
Yeah.
There's just no possible justification. I mean, he chases after him. The car even looks as though it might even be disabled at that point, and he's just idling backwards, and he had actually, it came out later when the tow truck finally took the truck away, that they found the transmission was in reverse.
It was in reverse.
So he had shifted into reverse to get away from them, and they claimed he came right at us. Anyone can see from the video
clearly
how
shown on the video. Yeah. Absolutely. I don't see how that could possibly be up for interpretation at all.
I think they did try one pit maneuver on a smaller road, and that one didn't work. And then they did the one on I-80, and I think they did it when they did because there wasn't traffic ahead of them, and they had all the other traffic behind them, and they didn't want them getting any further out on I-80 where it would have been kind of out of the county and out of the area. I think they were trying to consume it more in towards our county line. I think is when they finally decided to do where they did it. Backing up a little bit, at one point, it talks about it in the lawsuit, but Jones was behind Joey at the freeway. It kind of is like a kind of a little highway, and then it goes into like the main freeway of I-80, but it's called 201, and off of 201 is Kennecott Copper Mine, and it's their big building, but there's like this little road or their little entranceway that you can turn down, and there's like a gate. But Joey turned in there, and Jones was behind him, sitting behind him, did not have his lights on, did not have his sirens on, did not get out of the vehicle, nothing, just sat there. And so it goes on for several minutes, and finally Joey kind of lifts his arms like, okay, what do you need? Can I help you with something? Or, do you need something from me? And Joey did a U-turn and then went down that little road where they did that first pit maneuver and left. But Jones never, tried to help him or talk to him or, had any lights on, so Joey didn't know that he was, there to do whatever. And, he's like, okay, do you need anything or not? Or put his hands up like, why are you following me?
Yeah.
And left, when he didn't get out of his car, have his sirens on or his lights on to indicate they were needing him for some reason or whatever, then he just left again. But I don't know.
Oh, very strange.
It's very strange. The whole thing is, it doesn't make sense. The way he jumped out of that car so fast and was running towards the truck shooting. In some of the discovery paperwork, it said that Jones thought the other two officers were in danger, that Joey was going to run into them. And one of those cops that he is referring to is Lisa Pascaldo, and she kind of, in the one video, pats him on the shoulder, kind of like, are you okay? If you watch the video, see her patting him on the shoulder.
Right.
You don't see her come into the video until Joey's already been shot. She doesn't come near the truck until he's already gone. So
right.
I don't know why Jones would say
how she could possibly be in danger.
Yeah.
No, the whole thing is ridiculous. It's just completely ridiculous.
There was no de-escalation tactic or communication or.
Well, that's the thing. They escalated the situation. They could have easily sat back 20, 30 yards and tried to figure out, hey, will he come out of the car? What's he going to do? Are we going to continue chasing him? What the hell's the deal here? You know what I mean? It's like they had a lot of options other than running up to the window and shooting him. It's just
another interesting thing is this isn't in any of the paperwork, that Joey's truck didn't have air conditioning. It was August. It's hot here in Utah in August. His windows would have been rolled down. And why didn't they taser him through the window? I don't know. Jones ran up and got that close anyway.
And
Joey was sitting there with his hands on the steering wheel. It mentions that in the lawsuit. Why didn't they just taser him?
Yeah, even tasering him would have been too much. It's just there's so many non-violent approaches that could have been.
But there are also so many non-lethal approaches if they had to use force.
I understand the point. It's just I just want to illustrate how ridiculous it really is. So if you haven't seen the dash cam video, check it out. I'll try to put it in this video somewhere. I'll maybe put it before or after this on YouTube.
I'll put a link up for people who are listening live.
So anyways, at that point, you guys, you find out, you deal with it obviously as best you can, and you settle in a lawsuit, and we talked about that and stuff. But no criminal charges were ever brought against this guy Jones, and he kept his job for a while, right?
Yes, he did. No criminal charges. The DA at the time, she did not, in her entire career, she did not find one case justified with officer-involved shooting.
Right.
She had the case for about 10 days and found it justified.
Laura Miller, right, is her name?
Right.
And she, not one single police-involved shooting was unjustified during her tenure. So then, the new guy comes to town, and you mentioned you actually voted for him and got real optimistic about this guy. Andrea, what's his name?
Sim
Gill.
Sim Gill, yeah. And you've kind of gotten in touch with him as well as the chief of police and stuff. And from what you told me, you haven't really gotten any definitive answers as to whether they might be willing to prosecute this guy or what.
Yeah, I've talked to them a little, about Joey's story. I've met with the chief once, and he pretty much sticks by, the decisions that were made. And then I've met with Sim too, and he basically said that he, would not overturn a previous DA's decision. Maybe there was new evidence, I don't know, but
that's what drives me completely
he would have to, kind of look at the case again, but without having reason to kind of have a case reopened, then there'd be no reason to overturn a previous DA's decision. He wasn't in the office, he wasn't in office at the time, so he couldn't really overturn her for no reason. He can open her case for no reason. Does that make sense?
No.
So
have you?
Not really. That's the problem with all this. None of this makes any sense. You know,
I know.
It seems like a bunch of circling of the wagons to protect their own. You know, and that's really what this sounds like. And you know, this new guy, I looked into him a little bit. Andrea, you go ahead with what you were going to ask, but he doesn't seem to be a lot. He seems to be a guy who's mastered, you know, kind of what to say and how to act and how to look. But
politician.
Yeah, but I don't necessarily buy it. But what were you going to ask?
I was wondering, did you talk to him before Law Jones started posting on the Facebook page or after? Because that's some pretty compelling behavior for somebody who actually is innocent.
I talked to him before. My parents had met with him probably a year and a half or so ago, and then I met with him with my parents once later on last year and a couple of times actually this year. And in fact, when Jones posted the first time last week, I sent him a Facebook message because him and I will kind of communicate every so often on Facebook. And I said, we need to talk. Jones just messaged on Joey's Facebook page, and he said, okay. And then I called his office the next day and talked to his secretary and said, you know, Officer Jones is messaging us on Joey's Facebook page. He says some really hurtful things, some intimidating things. You know, we're kind of, you know, at this time we're also kind of scared. Do we need to get a restraining order? Do we need, you know, what steps do we need to take to protect ourselves? We don't know who he knows or what connections he has. I know, you know, he must have a lot of friends still here on the police force, and so I was asking several questions like that. You know, what do we need to do? And
well, and he has a documented history of abusing his privileges for his personal life. You know, we can go into that in a minute. So it's not like it's an unfounded fear. I mean,
yeah, and so I didn't know. I mean, from what I have found, his girlfriend that he's currently seeing is used to work or is still working for Salt Lake City as in dispatch, and her son, from what we can find, is a Salt Lake City police officer as well. So I called, you know, the DA's office to see what we need to do from here, and she said, okay, send me a copy of those screenshots that you have, and I just sent them what Jones sent, and she said she was going to have him look at them, and so I messaged him again on Facebook and said, okay, I emailed everything to Dina. Are we going to need to make an appointment? And he said, you know, we are going to need to make an appointment. And I said, well, I sent everything to Dina. Do you want to review those first? He said, yeah, and that's all I've heard. Said the same thing to Burbank's office, called Chief Burbank's office, talked to his secretary, and said, this is what happened. He contacted us, and she said, okay, send me everything he sent you. I need to talk to the chief about this. I know he's not going to be happy about this because it's going to make our department look bad. I will get back in touch with you after I talk to him. I'll be back in touch with you within a couple of days. I haven't heard from either office yet. I have emailed Sim's office again Monday to see if, you know, Sim had a chance to review it all. I know they have several cases going on, but I wanted to see if he had a chance to look at them and what we do from here. I wanted to kind of see what they thought before I, you know, took other action or talked to other people. But, you know, we are kind of afraid of what he might do. Is he going to retaliate? I mean, obviously, you know, years ago in the 90s, a girl that he was having an affair with broke up with him, and he saw a car out in front of her house and ran the plates using his police resources, and saw she was seeing some other guy, or some other guy was at her house, and he was going to run his patrol car through her house.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, we are kind of a little nervous about what he may try to do to us. He's not even an officer now. Last we heard, he's in Florida still, but who does he know here? And, you know, we've gone to some meetings with Burbank and Tim Gill. They've had some community meetings on police force, excessive force, and police misconduct, things like that. And at one of the meetings, Lisa Pascaldo was at one of them. And when I had mentioned who I was and whose sister I was, she left the building and went home.
And again,
but I don't know
she was
if
one of the other
that's
officers
how
on the scene.
Jones kind of found us.
Yeah.
But
so she's thinking that that lady hears her talking about it at the meeting, and then goes and tells Law Jones.
She's also
Law
Chief Burbank's. She's kind of one of his higher ups, like his administrative. You know, she's really high up with him. So She didn't used to be. She's worked her way up since she was part of that officer-involved shooting with my brother. But
yeah.
So I don't know, who he knows here and what he may do.
So going back to the new DA, Sim Gill, we were looking into him and came across an article that I think he wrote that is all about this necessary conversation, as he puts it, on addressing this the concerns of the American public about the overreach of law enforcement and the use of deadly force. And the whole thing is written in typical lawyer fashion. He uses 100 words where he could use 10, and it's all very apologetic language for the state. And especially even this term, the use of deadly force by law enforcement officers, more often than not could be more characterized as just killing, but it's the whole thing is I understand, like you were saying, you're optimistic about the guy being kind of turning over a new leaf for Salt Lake City and maybe applying some accountability to law enforcement. It just seems very flowery and kind of ineffectual. Are you familiar with the article I'm talking about?
I think I have seen something about that at these meetings that we go to. He does talk about accountability and transparency and making, it's a whole organization and the way that they think and training and, but that's also what Chief Burbank is out there talking about too, is it needs to be changed and training needs to be done and transparency, accountability, and it's their whole conversation that they have at these meetings and the things that need to happen.
Right, and
it sounds like basically that's what it's talking about, and at all these meetings, that's also what they discuss.
Yeah, it's just very suspicious to me, and it just reeks of a guy. Yeah, like it's just a very like politician-like thing to do, where the public is getting really sick of this kind of stuff. So,
and then he has an opportunity to take action and not just talk about it, and he doesn't.
No, that's a great point. I mean, all this stuff that he puts in here. Here's a quote from him. Rather than examining the conduct of a single officer, we must look at the failure of institutional accountability, of which individual officers are a subset. That's just a really needlessly flowery way of saying, we don't want to hold people individually accountable. We want this weird doublethink where we talk about how the system needs to change so that accountability becomes more natural. Like what the hell does that mean? It's
like, how about we just hold people accountable?
Yeah, how about we hold people accountable, and how about you start with Lewis Jones? So I mean, yeah, he's got all of this kind of way of sidestepping around the issue of individual accountability within the system. You can't.
Well, yeah, because all of us at all of our day-to-day jobs, we're all accountable for our actions at our jobs.
Exactly.
For our own actions at our own job, we're all accountable.
Right. And especially...
It should be the same with law enforcement.
Especially if you were to kill someone at your job. You would, you'd be charged with
murder.
My
reason for having hope in him is because there was a case in Utah that happened. Her name is Danielle Willard. She was killed by some West Valley City officers. And he found the cop in that case unjustified.
Okay.
And he actually, investigated that case and stuff for a long time. I think about 6 months is how long he actually reviewed that before he made a decision and found it unjustified. And it went to court, but the judge actually overturned that. But he was ready to go to court with his findings, and that it was unjustified. And so that is where my glimmer of hope comes with him, is that he has done this, and he stood up against some of these people and said, no, this is unjustified, this shouldn't happen.
So you would
and
like
that's where my hope came from.
Yeah, no, and I'm not trying to knock that. I'm just I'm just very, very suspicious of, I mean, he should jump at that case. If he's seen the dash cam footage, there's no reason for him to be sidestepping this. There's no reason whatsoever. He says he's reluctant to overturn a decision of a previous DA, as though there's some sort of inherent integrity that comes with being a DA, as though you're infallible or something, and it's not conceivable that you may have either made mistakes or just been someone who refused to look at anything anti-law enforcement. It's silly. The whole thing is really silly. So he should really step up and do the right thing with your case.
Well, now with our new stuff, with him contacting us and his comments that he made to us, I think we have enough to go back and relook at things.
Well, you certainly...
Now, I think we have enough to make that happen and reopen stuff. But I think that, DAs should be able to go back and look at previous cases. A new set of eyes on things don't hurt.
Yeah. No, and like I said, it's the instinct of a lot of these guys is to just protect their own, and that's probably what's going on here. And like I said, the more people that get involved and put pressure on this in a social way, put pressure on him in a social way, the better off you are for trying to actually get something done. You would like to see criminal charges brought against Law Jones, right?
Right.
And murder, I would say, would be appropriate.
Yeah.
Yeah. Watching the videos and hearing the way Jones talked and how he talked about the pit maneuver, and I strongly feel that he knew he was going to kill Joey before that pit maneuver was ever done, and he used those other officers as a reason to claim that they were in danger. So, but I really believe that he had his mind made up, and that's why he got all this whole time, all these years. I've always said, why did he get out so fast? Why did he get out of that car so fast and start running towards his truck and shoot? Why did he not try talking to him? Why did he not try to de-escalate the situation? Why did nobody else shoot? If it was really a threatening situation, why did the other officers not shoot?
And they didn't
because
even
of
look
all
like...
that, I think he really planned to kill him before the pit was ever done, and that's why he got out, and therefore it is murder. It's not he was in danger. He planned it beforehand.
The police department claimed, well, the other officers couldn't shoot because they would have been shooting into the traffic on the other side of the highway. But
that's what Jones said. They couldn't shoot because they would be shooting in. They were trained professionals, and they couldn't shoot because they would be shooting into the other traffic. So what is he saying? He's not a trained professional, and he shot into the same direction of the same traffic. Yeah,
and he also fails to realize that if you watch the video, they didn't look like they were thinking about shooting. They did have their guns drawn, I think is probably standard procedure in one of those things, but like they didn't have that same jumpy kind of look,
Right.
He jumps out and shoots in a way that, like he walked up knowing what he was going to do. Nothing changed in those 5 seconds. He wasn't ever, he was never threatened. It just, he had his mind made up. The same way a lot of high-speed chases or low-speed chases end with some kind of beating or something. I think they're just boiling when they're in the car thinking about what they're going to do to the person, and that's exactly what this guy did.
I've seen cases since Joey's has happened, and the person actually has a gun, or they're actually, and they don't shoot them. They use other means to, get the suspect, and they take them to jail, and, but they don't kill them. I mean, I just don't understand why we needed him to go to the hospital that day, and it turned into this. Jones mentions in some of those comments about he wasn't a diabetic, he was suicidal. Okay, well, why is that any different?
What does it matter?
Because he was suicidal or because he needed medical help, which we called for medical help, but why does either one of those
And furthermore, he was a diabetic.
Yeah, he was diabetic.
It's like it's not like he was a diabetic.
Right.
It's not like he made that up. Yeah.
Do you think there's a case against other officers or the department for being accomplices or for covering up, what's clearly a cold-blooded murder?
Yeah, because they didn't tell you the truth until you had the dash cam footage. Mm-hmm. I didn't even think about that. What do you think about that, Melinda?
I haven't thought about that either. I think that it's all a big I think that would be a big case here if you found the right person to go up against them that would uncover, that would uncover it all, to prove it all, obviously. But yeah, it's just one person covering up another and another and another.
And this isn't something that they didn't know what they were doing. Yeah, this is a deliberate cover-up.
Blatant.
Yeah, it's painfully obvious.
I mean, isn't there a certain point that, like, there doesn't need to be an internal affairs, there doesn't need to be any forms filed. When you see, if you're a cop and you see a cop do something over a certain line, you just put them under arrest and charge them with that crime.
Right.
I mean, that's literally the only reason this guy, there's any doubt in anyone's mind whatsoever, is because he had a uniform on. He didn't do anything. He didn't follow procedure. He didn't do any cop stuff.
Except put on the clothes.
He wasn't even on duty.
That's what I'm saying. But he wasn't even doing cop stuff. He just did murderer stuff, just plain out. He should just be placed under arrest at the scene.
Yes.
He should not have fired his weapon until UHP, Highway Patrol, who it was their jurisdiction. They had control. Nobody should have fired until they gave the direction. Do you know what I mean? It should have been on kind of their command. They did the pit. They were in control. It was their lead at the time. He shouldn't have just done what he did. I mean, it shouldn't have happened. I just don't understand. You know what I mean? I don't know how to explain myself, but he never should have just made his own mind up just to start shooting, because it should never have been his decision to make. It was Highway Patrol's decision to make if it needed to happen at all. Yeah, it would have been theirs. It was their jurisdiction. It was their scene at the time.
So that's even more, that's just even more levels of corruption that it took for this guy to not face any charges. Because now they have to also say, they should have been speaking up too and said, hey, this guy just jumped out ahead of us and started firing. It's the whole system is to blame for this in a way.
As well as the individual cop.
Cop. Yeah, I know.
Let's stress that.
No, I'm not. Yeah. I'm not going down the Sim Gills or whatever Sim Gill apologist road.
Problem.
But yeah, it sounds like you guys have faced an unbelievably frustrating kind of stalemate with all this. And where do you see this going? And what are your plans for the future, just to kind of try to keep snowballing and get public sentiment in your favor, or what?
Yeah, I really want to get this out there as much as possible and keep spreading his story. I mean, that's kind of what his page was. Well, his page was originally set up for if you kind of, the link to it is in memory of Joey Tucker, and that's how I set it up at first, was, this is where we're going to go talk to him and share stories and, kind of stuff. But then it kind of became more, this is going to be justice for him, because I wanted to change his name. I wanted the DA to go back and look at the case and overturn the previous DA. And because I really believed when he found that other case with Daniel Willard unjustified, I really believed if he really looked at Joey's case and looked at all of the information, he would do the same with Joey's case. I really believed in my heart if he would just look at it, he would overturn it, and he would find him unjustified. And so that's kind of why it turned into my Justice for Joey page. And not only, on Joey's page, I share everybody else's articles too, all these other cases that are going on and rallies that are happening. And so I want to spread the word, but it's also justice for Joey is not just justice for my brother, and changes hopefully that will happen and somebody will come along and help, or the right person, as far as a lawyer will see it or something. But, it's a place to tell his story so that changes, at the very least, if nothing else ever comes out of this and I don't get that cop in prison, which is where, the best possible outcome that could happen is he's in prison.
Right.
If I don't get that, I want the story out there so that changes can be made for the way that cops handle situations they get called on, whether it's for a medical condition, a mental health condition, a regular call that they get called on. Every call they get called on is different, and they need to know how to approach each and every call with a unique approach, and how to protect not only the person that they're getting called upon, but themselves. But they need the training and they need the awareness and they need the education. And so sharing his story is my hope that that will happen as well, so that, changes can be made. I mean, I've read before that cops got called on, a mom called on her autistic kid because she couldn't get him under control. Well, they killed him. They shot him.
Sure.
An autistic kid. They shot him.
Oh my God, it happens every day. It's insane. It's well, I don't know every day, but we do the police stories on the show quite a bit, and we
can't cover them all.
We throw away 98 out of 100 stories we come across because we don't have time. It just is like this happens so often. That
it's getting out of control.
It's unbelievable.
It's getting huge. I don't know if we're just hearing about it more, and social media. When Joey passed away, social media wasn't what it is. I remember, as his viewing, some friends from high school came, and I said, "How did you guys keep in touch all this time?" And they said, "Well, Facebook." And I'm like, "Facebook?" And so I didn't know. I didn't have Facebook. I didn't really know what it was. I was kind of still MySpace. I didn't really know what Facebook was, but.
Right.
Social media wasn't out there. We had our little time with the news, the local news we were on for a second, and it went away. We got an attorney as fast as we could because we thought if we had any chance of getting this cop criminally, we didn't even think about a lawsuit. We were trying to go the other way, but we got an attorney. But, yeah, his story is not just for justice for what I want. I would love to get this guy for harassment now. I would love to see him in prison, but also at the same time, I'm out here with this page and sharing his story so people are aware of his story. And, I talked to one attorney today, and he said, this case is just so bizarre. I would have to do some research to see how I could help you, with the cop contacting us now. He said, never in all my years of practice have I had this happen, where the officers come back and contact the family. This is so unusual and so bizarre that he would even do this. And so just so many different levels of Joey's case I want people to be aware of, and hopefully it will make some changes for future so more families don't have to go through this, because the way things are going, it's not a matter of, if it happens to somebody or someone in your family, it's when. Yeah. If we don't make changes and get things to stop.
Well said. And oftentimes people don't recognize official oppression until it affects them and their family.
Right.
So the more of us that can understand what's happening before it comes to our doorstep, obviously, the exponentially better off we'll be. Well, I think we're about up with our time. We got to kind of move along. Did you you said your parents might want to call in? Did you ever get a hold of them or no?
I did get a hold of them. Do you want them to call?
We could, or we could do a follow up soon. The time just sort of ran away from me, and we're already all the way up against the next hour. Do you want to just do a follow up with them soon, Andrea?
I would love to do that.
Yeah, let's do that. Yeah, I'm sorry. It just we kind of got caught up in the conversation here, and I completely forgot.
But in the meantime, what's the best way for people to get involved with this? Should they go to the Facebook? Do you have a petition? Do you want to do a letter writing campaign?
The Facebook, and I'm going to go back and update. I did start a petition on change.org for Finn to review Joey's case. And when I had met with him a few times, and he said, I'm not going to overturn things, but if you want to leave me some stuff, I'll look at it. But, not really anything that he would do.
What an
I kind of just let it go. But now with this new stuff going on, I think if we have a second chance to go at this, I want to do everything possible to try to make that second chance happen.
Yeah. And we expect our expect our listeners to follow up. Go to Facebook and find the Justice for Joey Tucker Facebook page. Get involved there. If you don't have Facebook, just find out about the case and stay informed. And watch
the video.
Watch the video. See for yourself. It's pretty obvious.
The video's on YouTube.
Yes.
If you search on YouTube Justice for Joey Tucker, there are some videos on there. The main one, I did, the few. There's like 4 of them on there, just little clips that I did. But the first 2 are the main ones from different angles that you can see on YouTube.
Right.
if you don't have Facebook. And I'll update the change.org petition and get that posted on his wall as well.
And then stay tuned to the show. Let's see what we can do, and we'll try to help you organize some stuff. And we'll kind of update this in a few weeks, and maybe at that time we can bring your parents on to give they know some of the other details about that day, which really I'm surprised by how quickly the time went, because there's a whole other angle to this just to show precisely how much they knew about the case and how negligent they really were with the situation. So yeah, we can involve that in an update coming up sometime soon. And all right, Melinda, we got to go, but we'll stay in touch with you, and like I said, we'll help you organize some of this stuff and see what we can do to aid in your struggle here. And again, thanks for being on and recounting that whole thing.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I just wanted to kind of get people involved and hear, a real story, instead of just covering 6, stories briefly like we normally do. Here's kind of a look at how it really affects family and the prolonged torture that's involved. This whole thing. Anybody else? No?
Well, I don't... It's just one of these cop stories that never... it's not a race thing. Like, it's not being talked about from that angle.
Yeah, so it's not getting a lot of coverage because it's not like a race or like a...
I didn't know how worth it was going to be mentioning that, but it's, he's obviously a white person, and it just shows that the police brutality extends beyond the race argument, and I think that,
beyond any way you could try to corral it, really. All right, Melinda.
That affects everybody. I just want to say thank you very much to you guys for having me on your show, and I can't thank you enough for sharing your story. I'm sorry. I try not to get emotional. I'm usually stronger than this talking about him.
No,
I've done it for so many years. Anybody will listen, and if it's someone at the grocery store, I tell them about Joey. But I just want to say thank you again for helping us get his story out there and getting people aware and that things need to change.
Well, we're absolutely more than happy to do what we can, which is regrettably not that much with our modest fan base, but we are going to do the best we can for you. And
we're going to keep with this too.
Yeah, we're going to stick with it, and you guys be strong, and just keep on the path towards justice, I suppose, to be a cliched moron. But
thank you so much, and I'll keep in touch with you.
Okay, all right, we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Melinda.
Thank you.
All right, bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
All right, there she goes.
That was really good.
Melinda Tucker Castellanos. You're right? Castellanos, I think.
Yeah.
But that's Joey Tucker's sister. We were supposed to... she called... I totally forgot. We talked right before the show, and she said, let's... my parents might want to come on. I'm like, oh, yeah, cool. And then we just did the whole thing. Like, I totally forgot.
Shoot.
So... Oh, and I have to apologize for saying the F word and calling her Melissa.
Yeah. You should apologize for that.
Other than that, I think we did pretty good.
Yeah.
Well, this is a real story. God, I hope that this...
Yeah, I was... that's the most nervous I've ever been. And she's never done a podcast before. Or it's not like a celebrity. It's just like... It was the most serious I've ever had to take one of our interviews. That was probably the most nervous I've ever been getting started. Felt like really clunky. Like I was like... my words wouldn't come out right and stuff, It's like, so I think that you can explain it if you want.
So a thing happened.
Yeah. So all right, whatever. We tried. We'll follow up with that, and
don't forget to find their Facebook page. Anybody who's out there, go give them a like. Follow along with this.
All right, quick break. Agents of Change on the Overdose. We'll be right back. Yeah, woohoo.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Lead in.
Who is this?
I don't know.
It's a bass guitar.
Some bass. Back on the Thursday evening Overdose. Thank you very much.
We're back.
Alan's with us.
Yo, how's it going?
All right, how are you?
Not too bad.
You just joined us. I want to talk about we never brought this to the show, but I thought it was worth discussing for a minute. That Draw Muhammad contest.
Yeah.
Remember? This whole story. So it started back in May.
May 3rd.
May 3rd was when they had the one in Texas.
Garland, Texas.
Yeah, Pamela Geller, who runs this foundation, the American Freedom Defense Initiative, and they're sort of like an anti-Islamic.
They're also known as Stop Islamization of America.
Yeah, pro-Israel kind of deal.
Ew.
A bunch of bullshit. I don't know, whatever. But here's the deal. See, this is why I'm gonna have to sort of like weave through a bunch of ideologies here to sort of really get to how I feel about this whole situation.
All right.
Because so they did their Muhammad drawing contest. They were attacked by two members of the Islamic State, who I guess that's what ISIS goes by now, right?
Yeah, they're just IS now.
So
what?
Yeah, you got to keep up.
All right, come on, Dave.
Shit happened.
It's the future, dude. It goes really fast. So they claimed responsibility, even, I guess, whatever, no dispute. They're like, yeah, we came and shot your shit because you were drawing Muhammad. They did it all. I guess the Pamela Geller's group did the whole thing in honor of Charlie Hebdo, and I guess the Charlie Hebdo people weren't too too kind in their response.
Not
Don't compare us to you. That's ridiculous. So they didn't accept the gesture,
the dedication.
The dedication. So
probably wise.
Anyways, everybody knows that's what happened. So in response to that, recently we had this guy John Ritzheimer, who organized his own Muhammad drawing contest in Phoenix. But this is the guy that got all the fucking publicity because they decided to have weapons. They decided we're going to draw Muhammad and we're going to arm ourselves because historically at Muhammad drawing contests, people get shot.
Right.
So here's my thing. I don't like any of these people, but I kind of like the point here, and I wanted to see what you guys think. I like the idea of like, oh really? You'll kill anyone who does this? We don't run that way. We're exercising freedom of expression, and here's how we're gonna do it. You don't tell people what they can and can't draw, can and can't say, and if we have to, we're gonna set up giant machine guns all over the place, and we're gonna draw the fuck out of Muhammad over and over again just to make our point. So I kind of dig that, but then it always comes out that these people are just like, just ravenous, hate-filled weirdos themselves,
Right.
And they're showing up in T-shirts that say "fuck Islam" and all this stuff. So it's like kind of detracting from the point. I want to see where the panel sits on this. What do you guys think?
I'm kind of on the same page, really. Like, that's exactly how I feel. Like, I feel like people should totally have the right to be able to do something like this, but at the same time, I definitely do not want to hang out with any of these people. Like, they just, and here, but I want to address the bombing situation for just 1 second.
What bombing situation?
The first drawing contest getting bombed.
No, they got machine gunned.
Oh, machine gun. Oh, yeah. I'm sorry.
Allegedly machine gunned.
Allegedly machine gunned.
Bomb them.
Okay, here's the thing I don't get, and maybe I'm misinformed here slightly about the whole Muhammad drawing thing. Isn't it that Muslims are not supposed to draw anything in nature? Isn't that like the whole point? As I understood it,
I don't know.
Their whole thing is that they're not supposed to try to replicate anything that Allah has put forth on Earth already. So their artwork tends to be geometric patterns in a lot of cases for that very reason. Now, maybe there's like sects who feel that no, it's only Muhammad or whatever because of this line here or whatever. I'm not going to pretend like I'm an expert on Islam or anything. But with my understanding of it, I don't understand why Muhammad is getting this special treatment. I mean, granted, yes, he's like the last prophet and everything, but he is technically just a prophet in a long line of prophets. I
thought he was the only one.
No.
Oh, yeah,
the
Really?
Islamic people regard Jesus as a prophet. They regard all of the Jewish prophets as prophets.
Yeah.
It's all a continuation of Judaism, Christian Judaism. Yeah, so that's my whole thing is like, why is Muhammad getting this special treatment and stuff? Like, why aren't you going and shooting up like art? And I get that in some case, in some extent it's because it's specifically focused against them as a people, but
I don't
it's
know
because
what the hell he's talking about.
Well, it's being the last prophet is like the fucking bee's knees. He's not just a guy who's a prophet. He's sort of the embodiment of God, as Jesus was, and everything. In Christianity, it's they're all one in this. I don't know, but maybe Muhammad has got that whole like sacred or Holy Trinity thing.
No, see, I know for a fact that they don't regard him as like a living god or a man god or anything along those lines. Like that specifically is the difference between them and Muhammad and Christians and Jesus. Like that's like the big difference is that they don't regard Muhammad as a guy. Muhammad was simply spoken to by an angel and told to write down the final laws of the people.
All right, anyways, none of this matters.
Sorry.
I just want to say, I want to get back to the topic of like, where do you stand on this whole Draw Muhammad contest?
I really think that it should be allowed to go on. I think people should be allowed
but not
to draw
not whether
want.
It should be allowed or not, because we all know it should be allowed. But like, do you support somebody doing it to exercise that idea? Because you're not even. It's not as though you're going against some kind of government oppression. You're just doing it to say like, hey. I'm drawing the guy in your book, and you fucking behave yourselves, and that's how it's gonna be. I'm sorry, just to prove a point. You know what I mean?
Yeah, sort of like what Alan said. Like, I'll die for their right to do that stuff, but I'm not gonna draw Muhammad's with them. Sort of, like they're not gonna. I'm not going to go hang out with these people, and I would never encourage somebody to go maliciously start drawing pictures of Muhammad, and I'm not going to start doing that to be an asshole.
I almost kind of would, because I just think it's so silly. I mean, I think so much of religion is really silly, and this is one of those ways that it's exemplified for me just how dumb and ritualistic and stupid it is. It's just like what
arbitrary.
What will it possibly hurt? It's the same warlike mentality that so many people criticize Islam for, is this knee-jerk, I need to stamp you out if you're not doing my thing, this and you're not allowed to draw that, and we're going to, like, it's disrespectful to me if you draw it. Really? That's pretty socially fucking aggressive.
Yeah.
Like, even in the mildest that it might be put is like, I find it disrespectful if you draw that. Like, that's socially aggressive in and of itself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I'm saying, like, if someone's threatening, like, I'll kill you if you draw Muhammad, I might draw Muhammad just to be like, fuck you, I'm allowed to do what I want.
That's how I'm feeling
right,
about
but
this,
if someone is saying, yo, it just makes me feel bad when people draw Muhammad, because like, we're not supposed to and everything. Just don't do it like around me, and don't wave it around me. I'd be like, sure, man, I'm not gonna I won't do that to you, but it's two different things.
Yeah.
Like,
I'd still be tempted. That's like taking pictures of Amish people, watching them run.
Are you not supposed to do that?
It steals your soul.
Hi, Jebediah.
But it's like, if I see an Amish dude in New York, I'm taking his picture. But if I'm like on his turf, no,
That's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, whatever. I get it.
What am I doing at this Amish place?
At the same time, see, now you feel like diplomatic towards Islam and Muslims about their traditions and stuff, and it makes you feel sort of worldly and progressive. But what about Christians, who we all grew up being annoyed by our whole lives in the United States? Would you feel the same way? I don't think most of the people who stand up for Islam are, a lot of the same people who take pleasure in mocking Christianity. Now, I mock both. I don't give a shit.
Right.
But what do you feel the same way about Christianity? Do you feel that same innate will to sort of respect someone's beliefs, or
only when I'm like sitting there in a church, and I'm willing to have a conversation with somebody and be honest with them. But like, if I'm in a church and a service is going on, I'm not gonna be the guy that's just like, this is all bullshit. That cracker's not Jesus. Why are you drinking blood, you weirdos?
Attention. Was that the King James version?
You know what happened when they wrote that, right? You know how this all came to be? All right, I'm just checking.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Historical context.
But do you get my point about people's like wanting to be respectful of foreign cultures, but not the one that annoys you all the time?
Oh,
Yeah.
You know?
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like, why not? Why,
Well, I mean,
why do
it's-
we not? Why are we afraid to make fun of Muslims?
It's that-
We'll sit
it's
here
that-
and
well,
make
it's-
fun of Christians all day.
It's
you
that
know?
same thing where, like, you know, if you're Italian, you're allowed to make fun of Italians, supposedly, and if you're Irish, you're allowed to. It's exactly that same kind of weird mentality where it's
Yeah.
like we all feel like we grew up with Christians, so therefore we're allowed to make fun of them.
Yeah.
But, like, you know, the Muslims are weird, so, you know, we have to be delicate around them.
We don't have
and
that
shit.
same. we don't have that same confidence in our understanding of them.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, we just have more content to work with towards the Christians. Like, you know, you have to know a little bit about the Muslims for real to get
called
the
material.
Yeah, like, I can
you
make
know,
way better
to
Christian
have that
jokes.
good subtext there and everything. You gotta know the shit.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
Well,
And that's not the only reason. I'm also just a little afraid of them.
Well, that's
Yeah.
That's why I like, dude, and that's why, like, as much of a fucking asshole as this guy turned out to be, this John Ritzheimer who organized the one in Phoenix. You know, people were criticizing all the wrong things. People were criticizing him, going, "Well, he says this is a peaceful demonstration, but he's urging the protesters to show up armed." Like, well, if they're gonna do it, they better be armed, don't you think?
Yeah.
You know, look at what's going on.
Yeah.
I mean, if they're gonna do it to make the point, yes, show up armed. You goddamn
Yeah.
better well, you know, because the cops aren't gonna protect you. Well, I actually, although I think they did in this last case. But who knows, dude? We didn't even look into that to find out if it was suspicious, the whole
Yeah.
thing, you know. Mysterious circumstances. But you know, I don't find that to be a valid criticism of you know, well, how could you want to be peaceful if you're showing up armed? They're not going to show up and just start firing into a mosque.
Yeah.
They're doing Second Amendment white people stuff. They're walking around with giant guns pointed at the ground. Yes, very scary and intimidating and weird to be around, but they're not going to shoot anyone. They're making their point, you know.
Yeah, it's a demonstration.
Yes. You're a Muslim.
Ritzheimer even said at this drawing contest, he said, anyone who wants to utilize their First Amendment rights to draw a picture of Muhammad, you can do so knowing there's plenty of armed Americans that support your freedom of speech.
Okay, could I get a show of hands who all is willing to draw Muhammad today? All right, come on, guys. We all showed up here. Everyone brought a machine gun, but no one will draw Muhammad. Is that right? Oh, you can't draw.
Yeah, they only had
everyone brought machine guns, but nobody wanted to draw.
Yeah,
that
they
was
had
the funny thing. And
two participants.
What does that tell you?
God, what does that tell you?
That there's that people are scared.
Yeah.
You know, people are really scared to make fun of Islam.
Does that just say that people want to kill terrorists? Is that just ex-military dudes like, I'm at it again in my own town. I can't wait till they show up so I can shoot them down.
Now, I would here's what I mean before when I said I got to weave through a bunch of ideologies here, because again, yes, a bunch of them probably were just fucking redneck assholes who just don't
I'm gonna shoot me some turban heads.
Yeah, who just don't like something different than them. There is going to be that element there. There were probably a few intelligent people there just to stand up for free speech and the shit that we're talking about, whatever. But, you know, the guy ends up being such a dick, though. What did he started a GoFundMe. The guy that organized the protest started a GoFundMe asking for, like, a $250 like it was like
$10 million.
$10 million.
Yeah.
For home defense.
Either to protect his family or to run against Senator John McCain.
Your choice, or what? How do you choose?
I think he would determine.
Well, it's your money
based on how much money he got. Yeah. Apparently, GoFundMe took his campaign down though, since he got it started. So we have no way of knowing how much money he was able to raise in the short amount of time that existed. But yeah, somebody got his personal information and put it on the internet, and he started getting death threats and had to move his family out of town. And, Yeah, no, he wants $10 million to go into hiding or become a senator.
But see, here's the thing. Why should anyone have like a violent reaction to what he did?
Right.
Now, I've seen it criticized like this is an intimidation, poor families going in and out of the mosque and stuff. Where do you want them to have this protest? If not to make the point in front of a mosque, where do you want them to do it that would make any sense for you? I don't give a shit. You know what I mean? Nobody fucking...
You know, it seems like it should just be in the media. You know, why does it have to be in a mosque, and why can't it just be? And of course, it wouldn't be. But if the media was on board, why couldn't they just put it on everybody's TV? Because that's really where the extremists, quote unquote, are going to see it. But like doing it outside of a mosque, like a lot of these people are just not. I mean, most of them. But see, that goes practically all of them aren't fucking terrorists. You know, there's people doing their thing.
No, of course, and
a lot of them aren't.
But
terrorists.
the people, I know. But the people at the protest are gonna make the point, and this is the basis of their protest. They're gonna make the point that Islam is the problem. Mm-hmm. They are. They're going to make that point. So
yeah, and there's a lot of arguments for that.
Right,
unfortunately,
if that's their point, they do have the freedom to express it. I mean,
sure.
I'm not going to tell anybody not to protest a church.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
It's hard to
tell. We wouldn't give a shit about that. Like,
where's the line between standing up for yourself and saying no, you can't threaten people because of this bullshit, and we're pro freedom and everything? Where's the line between that and just like
blatant harassment?
Yeah, being a dick and exacerbating the situation. You know, where's the tipping point?
Well, I think for one thing, I think the fact that they only did it one day, is pretty reasonable. Mm-hmm. You know, they didn't post up for weeks on end. Hey, we're allowed to walk through us if you want to go to the mosque. Come on, it's a public sidewalk. You know, it wasn't that. You know, they did their thing one day. Yeah. I think it's pretty reasonable. You know,
and I wasn't saying that it wasn't, but that's a question.
Yeah. And not like I really would hang out with these people or anything like that. But I don't know, dude. I
kind of want to draw Muhammad like right now.
Like really bad,
just
right?
like a whole bunch of stick figure versions of them.
It's very tempting.
Yeah, but I think it's labeled.
At this point, it's been done a lot. The terrorists got to be really fucking choosy with who they're going after. Yeah. You know, they're going after the high-profile ones now.
What if we make a Muhammad puppet, like one of the marionette ones with the strings, but also the one where you put your hand up their butt and everything? Mm-hmm. Yeah, that would be awesome.
And then like start a YouTube channel
and make videos, just a whole bunch of videos of those puppets and the drawings
together,
and then videos of the videos. Yeah, all of it. Then we'll hire a guy to act as Muhammad.
We should start a cruise line called Muhammad Cruise Lines, and it'll be Muhammad hula hooping on the front of the ship.
Yeah, it's just a huge picture of him.
All of the
and
staff dresses like Muhammad.
Mushroom cloud in the background.
The uniform is a costume of Muhammad.
It might as well be crosshairs.
The band is like Mo and the Dancing Mohammeds. You know, it's like doo-wop acts.
Yeah. All of the deck chairs are shaped like Muhammad.
No, wait, hang on. We got to go back to the band because I want to see Muhammad doo-wop. That sounds pretty fucking epic.
There's a lot of swords on that
boat. God, I wish you would have just let that be silent for a minute.
We can edit it.
Yeah. Muhammad is a touchy one, though. It's a touchy one.
Touchy one.
Not as touchy as the Christians. Oh,
whoa, gross.
So no, the
bang.
The
shots fired.
The whole thing is to me pretty funny. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't really give a shit.
It's hilarious.
Yeah, it really is.
Do you now you pointed out earlier, did you think the fuck Islam shirts were like over the top or
I
kind of appreciated that. I mean, I appreciated how over the top it was. I feel like they almost did that tongue in cheek.
No, I think that was their...
Because they didn't asterisk it or anything.
That's the part that turns me off, really.
Yeah.
Really?
Like,
I don't think that was...
I'm all for the freedom of speech exercise and for the fuck you exercise of like, fuck you in your stupid book.
There he is.
You know, but like the fuck Islam is like... That's where it just kind of deteriorates into a juvenile thing.
That's where you're the mirror image of the thing that you hate.
Right.
You know,
right.
like you're the fucking radical dude just on the opposite side.
And you also lose the integrity of the argument if you kept it at, hey, look, I have nothing to say. other than we're going to draw a picture and everyone else has to fucking behave themselves. And that's all that there is to it. That should be your only argument. We're drawing pictures here. If anyone tries to kill us for drawing pictures, we're going to kill them back. It's a very sad day when we have to fucking split hairs about this.
Right.
But that's the situation here. Now, they should have just left it at that, you know? But it's that kind of thing that's really kind of cheapening the whole conversation. Because, yeah, if you left it at that, people might have to have an actual discussion. Oh, shit.
Right.
Wait a second. They do just want to draw pictures, and there is a reasonable expectation that there may be violence, you know, as a result of them drawing these pictures. Wow, maybe we really should address this and think about this and talk about this maturely.
The fuck Islam guy is just the turd in the punch bowl.
Yeah. It's like an easy...
He was the organizer that designed those shirts, wasn't he?
Yeah.
And he sells them. That's what I'm saying. Like, he's an asshole, but the whole thing is very interesting.
Right.
It could have been. Jesus.
It's a media spectacle.
Guy.
He was on Anderson Cooper, and of course that was just a completely unintelligible mess. Just
circle jerk.
Just complete bullshit. Where Anderson Cooper tries to corner him on like lame points that don't really go anywhere.
But ultimately, we all love Israel.
Yeah.
Can we agree on that?
Oh, yeah. I mean, best place around.
Let's just keep talking about this Islam thing.
All right, go on.
Well, what else is there to say?
All right, Alan wants to start his own show.
Hooray!
Yeah.
Tell us what you're going to do, Alan, and what do you got planned for us?
Okay, so the way that it breaks down is there's a lot of different shows that sort of talk about various nerd culture topics, but I haven't found many that talk about them in a very broad sense, and certainly not many that talk about them with the dirty mind that me and my friends kind of get into conversations with. And so I wanted to just start a show where we kind of just talk about what's going on in the gaming world, in comic books, in movies, television, and also interview people kind of like in that culture and in that line of work, and have fun discussions like why Superman is the lamest superhero ever.
Yeah.
Shut the fuck up! All right.
Well, I don't think I'm going to like that show, but we're going to put it out for people.
There's definitely an audience for that.
Yeah, there's a big audience for
I'm going
that.
to produce it for them.
Yeah.
Are you
Thanks,
going to have
buddy.
Shut the fuck up!
Wait, whoops. Are you going to have a co-host?
I don't know if I'm going to have a permanent co-host. I've got a couple people coming to at least the first show.
All right, when's the first show?
The first show is going to be this Tuesday at 8:30.
Okay.
And
I'll be producing it. I'm not going to be talking on it, but I'll be helping you guys out and
yeah,
getting the whole thing rolling for you guys and shit.
Is this going to be a live show?
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Everything's a live show. It has to be live.
Yeah.
Okay.
Even if no one's listening, it has to be live.
it's much better that way.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I got a couple people signed on board. Jimmy Mischief's going to be there. Bill Walker. I don't know if any of you two definitely know Bill Walker.
Who?
And
Yeah, but nobody else does, so shut up. Who cares? All right,
Yeah,
so you're going to have a
fine.
couple of your goon friends come by. Great.
yeah, exactly.
That's all anyone needs to
Your
know.
posse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And talk about a bunch of nerdy bullshit. All right, well, we'll see how that goes.
Nice plug.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Bullshit.
Yeah.
What else do we have before we go, Andrea?
Oh, boy. Let's
Jesus
talk about the
Christ.
Nephilim skulls.
Well, how about we don't?
You don't want to?
Yeah, no, you guys go
They're
ahead. I
fucking
need to go get another
crazy.
drink for this bullshit.
That is
Right.
a hairy looking skull.
Yeah.
Nephilim.
The Nephilim skulls.
All right, so the Nephilim, if I remember correctly, they're like the byproduct of gods and human breeding.
Yeah, that's
They're like superhumans born of gods and humans.
that's what they say. Okay, so for people who aren't looking at the picture, it's a big pointy skull that they found in Peru. it looks like a human skull, but the top part of it is elongated. And they recently did some DNA tests on one of the specimens that they found, and they were unable to match it to any genetic material known by any human, primate, or animal.
Really? Well.
So they have officially declared, let's see, in Peru, they have officially declared a new human-like creature, unlike anything that has ever been discovered before. I'm going to post this link on the page.
It's got some teeth on it.
Yeah.
It's,
What did I miss?
it sort of looks like gorilla teeth.
They
maybe?
found out it wasn't human?
Yeah.
Because they always said
no
those...
genetic material resembling any known human, primate, or animal.
Yeah, the initial reports was always that those were like deformed human skulls.
Right.
Now,
So now they've
hang on.
disproved
Who was
it.
the one
Awesome.
who did do these DNA tests? Was this somebody in Peru? Because
Yeah.
Well, I think it. I've seen these elongated skulls before, and they don't have the teeth and like the jaw that this fucking thing has, or the hair.
Yeah, it looks carnivorous.
Yeah.
But they have found elongated skulls in many parts of the world. I mean,
Yeah.
enough that they have an official story of where they come from.
yeah,
Which is
carnivorous. He was one of my roommates back in college.
Shut up.
they fuck. They even have the official story is that there's like a head binding that cultures used to do, similar to foot binding, where they can, or like the neck rings,
Yeah.
where they can physically shape the body by using a tether or something else. So the DNA analysis has been conducted by expert Brian Forrester, and he has released preliminary information regarding these enigmatic skulls. So yeah, it's a pretty big deal. It's pretty important that they have discovered this, because now people are going to try and disprove what Brian Forrester has officially stated.
Disprove, my old college roommate.
That one was horrible. That was so bad. Oh, he jumped the gun. He should have waited for another one.
You laughed,
it.
you bitches.
Yeah.
yeah.
I
I
laughed.
think that was the perfect amount of bad, quite frankly.
Yeah.
That's what I was going for. Mission accomplished.
Oh, that was no good.
Check the box.
Go on, Andrea. Come on, keep us on the rails here.
I'm just basically I'm out of stuff to say about this. The cranial volume of the skulls is up to 25% larger and 60% heavier than conventional human skulls, meaning they could not have been intentionally deformed through head binding or flattening. They also only contain one parietal plate rather than two. The
Very important distinction.
Nelly deformed. Was my roommate in college.
I think she's married to Disprove.
So they managed to prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that these were not reshapen human skulls, just based on the physical parameters that they encompass. They're also not the giant humans that they have found in many places in the world as well share human DNA. I mean, they're considered to be humans. And these are not. So it would be reasonable to assume that they also didn't come from those giant humans that have been found too.
Did they match any? Was there any DNA match? Did they match it to anything like maybe a reptile or anything like that?
They
Is it
probably
similar
didn't
to a
test that.
banana?
They probably didn't test that either. There's
Is
no
it
mention of it.
carbon-based?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, most living things
Well,
are.
interesting. So they really just have no idea at this point.
Yeah, so I guess they're starting to distribute some samples taken from the skull to other places to be checked against.
My.
Nice.
That is fascinating.
At least,
Isn't that
at least
my?
it will be
Isn't
a
that just
collaboration.
fascinating? My,
What, David Box?
my.
At least it will be a collaboration.
All right.
All right,
Fuck you.
good. So there's a new portable capsule that makes it so you can live anywhere in the world and be self-sustaining. Did you guys see this?
No, what is it?
It's amazing. It's a little pod. It's got a little windmill on it, so you can harvest energy from wherever you are. And,
how big is that thing?
Here, I've got a diagram of it. Pretty big. As you can see from the picture.
Oh, wow.
A person.
Okay, so you live in it.
Yeah, so you live in it. And let's see, it looks to be probably about 10 feet long by probably 5 feet wide.
And this is a portable capsule that allows you to live anywhere?
Yeah, you could take it anywhere and just live off the grid. It's completely self-sustaining. Check it out. Looks real futury. It's got solar panels and a windmill.
Okay.
The egg-shaped abode, which has been named the Eco Capsule. See, it's got a 9,744 watt-hours battery, just in case you don't have any sunshine. It's specially shaped to collect rainwater and dew and funnel it down into a tank below the floor. And then that filters it with a surface membrane, so similar to like reverse osmosis. They use the membrane. It also includes a toilet and shower, miniature kitchen, bed, table, and storage. So you pretty much have everything.
I'll take it.
Working and dining place. It has an openable window. The home is even capable of charging your electric car while you tow it. So you just hook it up to your car, charges your car while you're driving it.
Damn.
How long until BP buys this and kills everyone involved in it?
Right.
This thing would be
Not
awesome
long.
if I had an electric car.
Yeah.
Thanks for nothing, the future.
Seriously.
God,
I'll have
damn
to
it.
keep my job so I can buy gas. Sucks.
Son of a-
No, but these things are really cool.
You've seen
You
those
could-
fancy new capsules on TV, but can you use them without an electric car? Tonight at 9.
I'm going to post these pictures on the page for everybody. They seem pretty well insulated, too. There's photos of them everywhere in all different climates.
It's always 9.
Yeah, the news is always on at 9.
Yeah, so those are pretty fucked up. Cool.
Yeah. I mean, you can bring it, basically, you can bring it anywhere you can drive your car.
Yeah.
This shows one on the edge of a cliff. There's some
So
of them
who
lined
ma-
up on the beach.
Who developed these?
They were developed. Hold on, I've got the name of the company.
FEMA.
Kodak.
Slovakian architects. They're from Slovakia,
right.
and it's named Eco Capsule. They must be a startup because they don't have. It's just Eco Capsule, and it's from Slovakia. So you guys can
Eco capsule.
Google Eco Capsule. And I'm going to share the link on the page for everybody right now too.
From Slovakia.
We
Eco capsule.
Did you guys also know that you can make light bulbs out of Coke bottles?
No, but I saw this, but I didn't read it.
Plastic
it
Coke
looked, It
bottles.
looked fake. Is this real?
It's real, yeah. They're light bulbs that work during the day, but they provide light in a home for almost no money whatsoever. You just take empty plastic Coke bottles, take the labels off of them, fill them with water, put a little bleach in them, and then put them through your roof, and it makes a light bulb.
Hold on, say that whole thing again.
Take an empty Coke bottle and take the label off of it.
Yeah.
Fill it with water.
Yeah.
Put some bleach in it.
Okay.
Then put it through your roof.
How do you put? What do you mean put
Like
it through?
launch
Drill-
it through
drill
your
a hole.
roof
Throw
into
it as hard
outer
as you
space.
can.
Yeah. No, drill a hole.
I don't know.
And
This
wedge it up
sounds
in
like
there.
a lot of work for
What do you-
very little payoff.
What are you saying? Bleach and water?
Yeah.
That doesn't make light.
It refracts the light from the sun in such a way that you can light up a room with light bulbs
During the daytime?
during the daytime. Yeah.
Well, that's bullshit. Who cares about lighting in the daytime?
Well, somebody who doesn't have any windows on the structure that they're in, or
Mole people.
people who can't afford
Oh,
electricity
stick
and
it
want.
through your roof. Like,
More people live underground,
Put it
though,
to
so I
the
don't think that's
outside.
That's
going
what
to
I'm
work.
saying.
does it have to be a Coke bottle? I mean, couldn't you get more high tech with it and get like a long, transparent tube and like a bunch of them and artistically put them through your roof and fill them with the same fucking thing?
Oh yeah, you absolutely could.
What a
Stupid
useless
Coke
invention.
bottles.
Yeah.
Why Coke?
Yeah, and why does it
Coke.
have to be Coke?
I don't
How
know.
do they get their names and everything?
Yeah.
But it has to do with the specific shape of a Coke bottle because they are unique and the way you wedge it in the roof, so it holds its
Well, 3D print something that has to be better. Someone throw some science at this and make us better things.
Well, the idea is that they
I
can
don't
be
want to
used
make my
in-
glasses out of Coke bottles anymore either. This fucking blows.
They're equivalent to 60
Give me an
watt light
alternative,
bulbs.
science.
No, this is affordable. That's the point. They're for places in like the Philippines where a quarter of the population lives below the poverty line and electricity is unusually expensive. The idea has really taken off, and they're called Moser lamps, and they are now fitted in 140,000 homes in the Philippines.
Wait, who's that? Philippines.
Philippines is my old elementary school buddy.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
So they do have a practical application. They're not just useless, like you implied.
What, the Coke bottle?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So
did I imply that? Which one of us implied that?
I think all of you implied it.
Oh, okay.
No, we didn't. We just said it's suspicious they get their name and everything.
Did you just infer that from what we said?
Yes.
I just said it was a lot of work. That was my only point.
Jesus, Alan.
Is it more work than building a light bulb?
Alan, are you ever playing a game of poker, and when you want to go all in, do you ever go Alan?
No.
Oh.
No, I do not.
Okay.
But I should.
Well,
The Cook County Commissioner
don't tell anyone that was my joke.
Wants to charge
I'm telling
gangbangers
everyone.
Oh, yeah, let's do this.
as domestic terrorists.
Yes.
Wait. Okay.
All right, so initially, some people are going to go, I'm watching this weird picture of Kim, what's his name? Kim Jong-un?
No, that one's Kim Jong-il.
That's Kim Jong-il.
Yeah.
A giant fucking headshot going past on a limo. Whatever.
Nice.
This fucking country is disgustingly weird. I just saw a video the other day of the new one. The Sun made like some propaganda video of him leaving South Korea or North Korea on a ship. Mm-hmm. And as he's walking down the dock to get on the ship, he's being followed by like thousands of people in the military members, whatever the hell they are. And they're spilling off the dock into the ocean to try to get closer to him. So there's just these like thronging masses of people just crying and pleading like, oh, I love you, dear leader. And they literally, hundreds of them fall into the ocean and swim after the boat as he's taking off, desperately trying to catch up to it. If they don't do that, they'll get killed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's absolutely fucking insane.
I'm working on a multi-part piece about North Korea.
Okay.
I have been fascinated by and obsessed with North Korea for
Sorry, I just
many
distracted
years.
us because I just saw this dumb picture of.
When did this start? No, this is good.
Yeah.
This is good because we should talk about that. I'm going to do this because I mean, it's been
A long time. Since definitely since you were living in the apartment.
Yeah, probably
maybe
4 years.
3
3 or 4
yeah.
years. I've been pretty much obsessed with North Korea.
That's true.
So yeah, that brings up the point that we are going to start a new thing. We are kind of reformatting the show. We're doing shorter shows. We're doing more focused shows. And one thing we're going to do is we're going to do like recurring pieces on certain topics. Try to do like 5-part series, kind of break up things, And Andrea's going to do North Korea. I was going to do Abraham Lincoln.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, we've got a bunch of ideas of things we're gonna split up into 5-part series. Anyways, to get back to where we were going, this
Cook County Commissioner wants to charge gangbangers as domestic terrorists. Now, Cook County is Chicago, where just about everybody's in a gang. I mean, it's got some of the heaviest gang activity in the world.
just about everybody's in a gang, huh?
No, but it is there is an incredible amount of gun violence, and I guess this is how they think they're going to deter it.
I never get shot. I don't know.
Let's see. There says Commissioner Richard Boykin of Forest Park. They're terrorists trying to destabilize communities, and we ought to charge them with domestic terrorism. Yowza.
Here's the deal, and it's very simple why you can't do that. If somebody's committing crimes, as a citizen, they simply can't be treated as terrorists because that just suspends all of their rights, and it's an incredibly dangerous precedent to set.
Yes.
Once we as a public condone, hey, take away due process for gangsters, well, guess what? Then they'll loosen up on how they declare people gangsters. Maybe just having the right tattoo or having an affiliation to be, and eventually maybe just because you're Facebook friends with somebody could lead to you being declared a gang member. So it's an incredibly slippery slope. You
There
cannot.
was a photo of him wearing a blue shirt.
Yeah, you can't put up with any of this bullshit whatsoever.
Yeah.
And don't make any mistake. That's what this is. This is law enforcement instinctively encroaching, on your liberties further and further. That's
Yes.
all this is.
Yep.
It's an instinct. They're a
Absolutely.
different fucking organism.
It's an incredibly dangerous move. If it goes
So
through.
what else does it say? Who the hell is this guy in Forest Park?
Yeah, Cook County Commissioner. And he, I don't know, it doesn't seem to have gotten any legs yet, but he's making his position known. And it could even just be a scare tactic, but I don't think it's going to work. Let's see. Boykin has called for a city county summit next month. Jesus Christ. Like the last big one in December, where the Attorney General will be there. And they say Chicago needs action and the shootings need to stop. So this is what they think is going to do it. Charge them as terrorists and they'll stop shooting. It's a really, really dangerous move to make.
Yeah.
Well, not only for the slippery slope, but it just gives more people motives to kill police too. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna, I'm not going down for fucking terrorism.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be a
Yeah, no
terrorist. I
kidding,
might as
man.
well be a fucking terrorist then.
Yeah.
Oh.
And especially in the way people enact their roles in society, when they're classified a certain way, you don't want to start classifying people as terrorists. Some of them are gonna be fucking proud of it. I guarantee you.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
And it's gonna influence their behavior.
But as we've talked about before, the definition of terrorism is incredibly broad. And this probably isn't a very large step in terms of convincing somebody that they are terrorists based on the legal definition of the word. And like they pointed out, they're trying to destabilize communities. But
Right.
I don't know how you exactly prove something like that. How do you prove that the gangs are actually destabilizing the community and not creating a community? A different community, but still,
Yeah, to me, you just can't even really get into it. There can't be any such thing as classifying citizens as terrorists.
And I mean, if you look at the history of gangs, most of them, a lot of the older ones at the very least, started as civil rights movement groups just who were trying to stabilize their neighborhood because cops would come and beat the living shit out of everybody all the time.
Or Klan or whoever.
Yeah.
Or other gangs or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. That's true, and it's become they have always had an opposition to the establishment, and the establishment has always found gangs, and we were talking about this with the biker gangs not long ago. They find that stuff threatening because it sends a message to the rest of society: hey, we don't need your structure, your authority. We run our own communities and we do our own thing. It's dangerous not only in the way that like a lot of violence takes place between gangs. It's dangerous to the establishment, in that
as a method of thinking.
Well, and it threatens people's perception of their overarching authority over every fucking aspect of your life.
Right.
But so whatever. So yeah, they don't like gangs, whether or not the gangs are violent.
Yeah.
Which a lot of times that's massively exaggerated, I feel like.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think as we saw in Waco too, how exaggerated the motorcycle gangs involvement really was versus...
Well, and how downplayed the police involvement was.
Exactly. Exactly. So, yeah, I mean, Chicago, for people who don't live around here, I don't know if the news gets out, but it is a hugely murdery city. I mean... over one weekend recently, 12 people were murdered and 43 wounded by guns in one weekend. That's 55 people shot in one weekend.
Here's my initial reaction as a Chicagoan. Like, half of those have to be, like, fucking mob-related, which is the establishment of Chicago.
Hold on. What do you mean mob?
Like, specifically...
Like Italian mob?
Yeah.
No. No way. No, they're mostly street gangs.
Yeah.
I would put over 70% probably.
Well, and they're people raised in a really specific culture that tells them that guns are the thing to do. I had a friend who was shot in the neck in Lawndale in Chicago and died because some thug wanted to be big with a gun, shot him on his own front porch.
Why don't you just say the N-word, Andrea?
No.
We all know
that N-word.
You did say it that one time.
We all know thug is racist.
Oh yeah.
Although I have noticed that has become the thing to say about black teen.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah,
Thug. But
this thug nigger.
yeah. So you had a friend actually killed.
Yeah. Just literally for no reason. He wouldn't let somebody play a card game with him and his uncle. And
why?
Because the stranger wanted to get in the game and start gambling, and my friend Walter said, no, man, we're just playing for fun. We don't want to play for money. It's not like that. This is just cards with family, whatever. And the stranger left and returned about 40 minutes later when Walter was standing at his front porch and didn't even get out of his car, just shot him. He died right there.
Because he wouldn't let him play cards?
Yep.
Jesus Christ.
Because that's what the culture is like there.
How do you know that was the only reason?
Because he was at a family party and he died in his girlfriend's arms, and she gave me her first-hand account of what had happened.
Yeah. All right.
That's
pretty. And I knew him as an individual, and I knew the way that he handled problems and stress and strangers, and I knew the way he could communicate with people, and it just wouldn't seem like he would get shot. It just didn't seem like that would be... He wouldn't have aggressed to that point, but there's a culture where he was that says that that's how things are handled.
I don't know that that's really a part of any culture. It's like somebody doesn't let you play cards, you kill them. I don't know if you can really even talk about that as part of a systemic culture, unless there was some kind of overall disrespect. But if he wasn't, then you're just talking about one crazy person, it sounds like, because that's not even a matter of honor or a matter of visible, disrespect in front of other people or something like that,
Yeah, and there could have been something that the shooter interpreted as disrespect, which was not meant as disrespect.
Yeah.
People have their own ways of looking at things.
All right, so whatever. So now they're terrorists.
Yeah, so now,
Or that's what this guy wants to do, huh?
They will be.
What's he doing?
He just has gone on record and said that he wants to start classifying them as terrorism, and it's an ongoing conversation at the city-county summits.
So when this starts coming out in the media, the next thing is for there to be a bill on the table somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll have to keep with this because that's a pretty weird thing for them to do. And if they manage to do it in Chicago, they could probably figure out a way to do it anywhere else. And it's just going to set one small step after one small step.
It's going to set a fucking horrendously dangerous precedent.
Yeah.
And
we could just start rounding people up.
Yeah. Well, it's another step closer to that idea of okay, we'll classify people into this pitiless category where no one gives a shit about them. If we say you're a terrorist, guess what? No one's coming to your aid. No one's standing up for you. Yeah. It's just
now get in the train car.
It's just a very it's a very dangerous. Take your pick of whatever dystopic terms you want to use. It's a very dangerous thing that has been predicted by any number of authors, movie makers, and philosophers over the years. We've seen this coming for a long, long time. Here it is. This kind of shit right here.
Yeah.
This is how they start putting us into categories for the culling. Well,
for the slaughter.
That is.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Harvest.
Do you see it as anything other?
A lot of farms.
Not really.
Farm stuff.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're out of here.
That's it.
Bye.
I started that too early. Yeah, we're gonna do Gyroscope. I have been forgetting to say what we do. Every show we're letting one of the local bands stay on the YouTube video so you can check them out. This is Gyroscope. Look them up. We'll see you guys Sunday. Thanks to Melinda.
Thanks, Melinda.
Thank
you. Thanks, Alan. We'll work on the name of the show. You guys will have some nerd show on Tuesday to listen to. So there you go.
Stay tuned.
Good night.
Bye.
It ain't no real. It ain't that real.
Justice for Joey Tucker. Look it up.
Everyone it was like.
Gyro. Hey yo, pay homage, it died, nothing but excellence. Renaissance in the crease of my palm, squeeze till it's medicine. Backtracking, javelin thrown, cloned by the hellish Schmidt. We break the levees and push, marking our exodus. Smash, slash whoever in half, clash to be born again. Certified conductors, as truckers lucking, it's covenant spawn. Upon delivery, storm drawn to the love of it. Analyze the pillages, torn, sworn to the gut of it. Sledgehammer canvas, supreme ambient artistry. Tomorrow kings up in the place, throw up your arteries. The more the merrier, pick your poison and bury it wide. Wait for the chariot when it's apparently choreographed. Tickets to Lorient, skipping portals, for audience crash. Stop feeding the audience trash, we need. Stuck watching the throne, eyes glued to the screen. In love with popular songs, Kaba Soup got a ring. Buddy starts talking about chrome, now the dude finna sing. And the kids just try it at home, buy the stupidest things. Pissing pups, popping Patron, product poop you pushing. We set the fire to clones, watch us dupe the machine. Team with the philosopher's stone, bada boom, bada bling. Turning these rocks into gold, gyro music pristine. Super group full of kings, mix David with an alchemist. Training sledgehammer swinging, bricks breaking up your house is brick. Angry with what you make and say they don't like the sound of it. Do us a favor, quit mixtaping up your albums, kid. Face up and name me the hater, cause I ain't down with it. We raising towers and saving hours, no power outages.
Hey yo, check it out.
A lot of y'all dudes just started rapping yesterday. So I mean, like, I understand you trying to find out you, figure out who you are. Just climb the mountain and shit. But you should really come into this original. You need to plant your own seeds. Your own idea of what you want to do and who you are. Do your homework. Trying to copycat. Do your own thing. Don't worry about what everybody else is doing. Just focus on you. And if you need some more lessons, just look up Gyroscope, and we'll tell you all the stuff you need to know. Some more kings in the place to be. Gyroscope forever. It's I be focused. Colossal structure. DJ C now. What it do? And yo. 2011 and beyond.
Well, hip hop is a term that's been put on this music that I do. By people other than me. Can it as a machine sustain itself? I'm pretty sure it can. How long? I don't know. What is it worth? I don't know either. Somewhat seems empty. You know, I do this 24/7, and it is fulfilling because I'm a part of a movement that has a higher cause and that has goals and objectives. Hip hop does not really. Its goals are empty. You can sustain yourself doing some empty shit for a long time, you know what I'm saying? You end up being high for 20 years and wake up and wonder where it all went. You know what I'm saying? Or what did you do with it? You know what I'm saying?